Hello everybody, it's Lucy Wolf here, sleep consultant and author of The Baby Sleep Solution. I hope that you're really well today. I just wanted to drop in today to talk to you a little bit about tiredness and overtiredness. Not yours, your baby's. Even though obviously I know that when your baby doesn't sleep great, we're all really overtired. And even when your baby does sleep great, as part of being parents, I find, well, I'm routinely tired all of the time. But I guess I want to talk to you about tiredness because obviously I do lots of little posts with you, but some of them are older, and again I just wanted to kind of just reconnect that when we struggle with our children's sleep, there are generally two major contributory factors, and one of the biggest contributory factors from my perspective is what I describe as being biological timekeeping. And what that really means is it's just to do with the time that your baby wakes, the time that your baby naps, the length of your baby's nap, the gaps between their naps, and the time that you do bedtime at. And from quite early on, your baby they have a circadian rhythm, their internal body clock. It's not mature, but it has a huge influencing factor over your child's sleep. And I guess becoming overtired or not being in sync with their natural body clock tends to contribute to a lot of the issues that you will report. So I talk to parents a lot about an overtired tank. And when your child is overtired or routinely not sleeping great, resisting sleep, waking really frequently, having short naps, their overtired tank unfortunately stays quite full. And as a result of that, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So they wake a lot overnight, they wake up, they have generally then an irregular or a late wake time. As a result of that, they're already overtired. Even if you perfectly time, for example, their first nap, they're already overtired by the time you attempt it. And as a result of that, that nap can often be short or varied in duration, and then that has a rolling cycle as the day unfolds, which typically means that your baby is overtired, routinely overtired. And when your baby's body becomes overtired, it does have a chemical reaction, which is cortisol and adrenaline to the system, which just really has two main jobs. It makes it hard for their body to go to sleep, but it also makes it hard for the body to stay asleep, which is often why you report things like resisting sleep, short nap durations, waking up within 20 or 40 minutes of bedtime, staying awake for long periods of time overnight, waking really early. Now, it's not the only reason behind those symptoms, if you like, but it is a large contributory factor. And it is, like I say, it is a vicious cycle. And what we try to endeavour to do is drain this overtired tank. And one of the most important things that you can do when you are trying to improve your child's sleep, regardless of their age, is try to avoid them becoming overtired. So generally if I'm in a group setting and if I ask parents, what do your babies do when they start to get tired? They often suggest that their baby will yawn, whinge, fuss, moan, rub eyes, get clumsy, be a little bit non-compliant. And I would always suggest that those symptoms and anything that's obvious is actually already overtired. So again, if I put it to you like this, anything that's obvious, intense eye rubbing, big tight yawning, any sense of agitation, clenching fists, stretching limbs, arching the back, looking to get up, looking to get back down again, not really knowing what they want. Some children get really hyper, clumsy, super entertaining, and these are all overtired symptoms. Now they belong on a spectrum, so they build, and again it depends on your child's way of coping. But typically if you've seen those overtired symptoms, their body's having that chemical reaction, and then in turn you may find that they either go to sleep really quickly but fail to maintain their sleep, or they resist sleep and either wake frequently or maintain some level of sleep. But you're in this overtired world. And again, one of the most important things that we can do is start to work off early sleep cues. So typically we're looking for brief eye rubs, brief yawns, moments of quiet, when your baby zones out, stops and is still. But many of you will tell me that you just don't see those symptoms. You only ever see the late symptoms, or you don't think your child is tired, but you take them up to their room and then they start kind of almost gouging their eyes, and now they are overtired because they become what I describe as being masters of disguise. So they don't give you the sleep cues. And very often when we start to work on your child's sleep, all of a sudden you start seeing them and you kind of feel like, how did I miss that? And it's not that you missed it, but as soon as you start tapping into it and decoding their body language, your child will give you more because they understand that you now understand what you're not that what you're doing, but that you're understanding their needs and you're meeting them. So brief eye rubs, brief yawns, moments of quiet, and if you don't see them, then plan to go maybe 10 or 20 minutes before you see those more intense symptoms. And again, this is why sometimes using the feeding and sleeping balances for your child's age range is helpful for you as you begin to improve your child's sleep from the Baby Sleep Solution book. And this way then, you almost hijack your baby's body clock. And just understand that your baby, although they can stay awake for ages, they typically, I don't want to say shouldn't, but when they do stay awake for too long, they tend to have more sleep challenges than those who are routinely returned to sleep frequently. So in the first 6, 8, even 10 to 12 months, when your baby gets up in the morning, the wake period is actually really quite small. So in the very early days, it might only be 45 minutes before they need to go back for their first nap of the day. But even at 8 months, I generally feel that they need to go back within about 2 hours. And that might mean preparing for that nap only an hour and 40 minutes after getting up. So again, it's a tight timeline. But again, often if we go on a little bit of a tight timeline as you begin, then you can hijack their body clock. That's the way I describe it. And then you can get to them before they become overtired. And when we do that, they can go to sleep with greater ease, and then they also can start to stay asleep for a little bit longer as well. Now, on its own, it may not be the complete magic bullet, but I would certainly suggest that if you can try and get timings better applied, then you may start to observe some subtle changes, and then you can start to make some other adjustments that tend to open the channels for better, deeper, more consolidated, less interrupted sleep for your little baby and you. So again, I just want to talk about that because I sometimes feel that I've talked about it before and then I don't come back to it again. And I suppose I think it's good just to remind you that becoming overtired can often undermine a lot of your efforts. Now, as you progress and you improve your child's sleep, then we often start to not worry as much about them becoming overtired in an effort to make the day run a little bit better. But again, in the very beginning, it's all about being cue-based and trying to read your baby's body language, and then also trying to get to them before they become overtired, so before that cortisol, and you're trying to drain that tank. Once you start to drain that tank, you are actually in a much better position to start to make other changes. And I suppose I feel a lot of the time that overtiredness plays a huge part, as in probably 60 to 70% of the problems that you guys report are all based in some level of overtiredness, whether that is the irregularity, or the short bursts of sleep, and then the self-fulfilling prophecy, or sometimes that there's a nap imbalance where your daytime sleep, maybe your first nap is too long and your second nap isn't long enough, and even though bedtime is timed correctly, the nap before bedtime doesn't hold doesn't have the strength, let's say, to get you to bedtime without becoming overtired. So there's lots of little fine-tuning that needs to happen in order to try and improve the sleep. But I just thought I'd talk to you about that a little bit today. There's loads of information on my website, sleepmatters.ie, loads of videos in the IGTV here on my profile, and of course there's loads of information in my book, The Baby Sleep Solution, as well. So I look forward to seeing you again here soon. Bye for a while.